Midnight blue changed to a deep violet on the horizon, and finally a streak of pale orange appeared. "Be careful out there today," said Ondeb as he opened the gate for me. And with that, I was on my way across the dusky scrubland. As Rinloh was a harpy, I had to keep our meetings a secret. If her flock found out about me, well, it's hard to predict how they would react. But in general, having a large number of man-eating harpies know that you regularly travel well outside the relative safety of the city walls would tend to be hazardous to your health. As far as the authorities of the town of Zin, if they knew that I had been associating myself with one of the more dangerous giant predators in the region, there would be a number of questions that I really didn't want to answer. Would you like a blindfold? And what shall we engrave on your tombstone, by way of example? So we met at the edge of the woods, a several-hour hike from the city. Like Zin itself, the surrounding countryside was dull by Arvian standards, lacking in valuable resources and interesting flora, lacking in treasures, artifacts, and magic. But that meant it also attracted fewer of the larger and more dangerous creatures. As much as I disliked starting earlier than I had to, dawn was usually one of the safer times of day to be out. Daytime predators were not yet up, and nocturnal predators had either been successful and were happily digesting a meal, or had not, and were worn out from hours of unsuccessful chases. Glancing at the sky as I arrived at our meeting spot, I could tell it was a bit early. I yawned. The tall, oak-like tree looked wonderfully inviting. Not being a botanist, I didn't know exactly what it was, but it had a sturdy, gnarled trunk that swept upward to a tall, arching crown with dinner plate-sized, dark green leaves, each with 3 lobes. It nourished itself through photosynthesis, not human flesh, and in fact the only danger was that it was so terribly conducive to lazy afternoon napping, not a trivial risk, considering how poorly I slept last night. Were this Earth, I would have almost certainly obliged this lovely tree. On Arvia, napping under a tree, even in one of the safe-ish regions, carries a risk of waking up to a view of a glistening set of canines from the inside. Many hours later, Rinloh came in low over the field, banking gracefully, then pulling up at the last second to slow herself before landing just in front of me. This would be the 5th time we met. Actually, 6th, if you count that first time when she snatched me off the bluffs and tossed me to her rather unruly sisters. Despite her small size by harpy standards, her strength and speed were so far above my own that she could kill me without a second thought, and certainly no consequences. Every encounter with her meant trusting her with my very life. And yet, I did. I trusted her more than I do many humans, in fact. Why? As she gently landed next to the tree, folding her 8-meter-long wings, I noted a sullen expression in her normally sparkly emerald eyes. I got into a lot of trouble, so Janolan made me do extra chores this morning. Trouble? What kind of trouble? A sheepish expression came over her face, and she hunched over a little. I said the P word, she replied softly. The P word? Despite my association with Rinloh, I still had only the tiniest glimpse of harpy culture and was clueless on the matter. Her face flushed red, her entire posture seeming to shrink as she knelt down before me and whispered gently in my ear, The P word, you know. Please. I had been living in this world less than a year, and I was already corrupting the morals of an innocent young harpy. Rinloh, you know there are those who speak different languages, right? She perked up a bit. In the ancient days, but doesn't everyone speak the common tongue now? Not exactly. So maybe when you talk to me, you can think of it like a different language. Maybe even like a secret language that only we understand. Ooh, I like that, she said, her huge emerald eyes returning to their former mischievous luster, as she ducked her head to my level. But now you have to put my necklace on.